So recently I had the pleasure of taking an old RSView program that was running on a Allen Bradley panel PC, and the screen started getting some dead spots up here on line speed. It got to where they had to kind of rub it to get it to pop up, and some of the other spots on the screen were going kind of dead. And as opposed to trying to convert it to a newer Rockwell product, I converted it over to a C-More. Problem was I didn't have the old project file, so I had to kind of do it the hard way, watching them run, kind of picking it apart. There's some hidden stuff that pops up here and there that you only see under certain conditions. There's some red text that pops up here when they're stopping, and this actually changes whether they're running in footage or diameter mode, and there's some pop-ups on that, and it changes to another screen, the alarm screen, if they try to start the machine and something's not in the right condition, something's not latched or what have you. But anyway, so it took me a while to reverse engineer, but this is a good opportunity to show you some of the more in-depth features of the C-More. So I'll give you a little look at this, and it's pretty simple. I mean, you've got different things you can set here and there. This is your line speed. Anything in blue on here is an actual numerical input. All the green stuff is just showing you. You've got these are buttons, of course, because we're not connected to the PLC, they're not going to do anything right now. Your footage reset pops up a little yes or no. You hit yes and it'll reset the footage. We go to the set point screen. Notice these are all blue, so these are all numerical inputs. The alarm screen, which is just showing you conditions. This is your safe to eject. We'll come over here. The trend screen didn't really work on this. And then their diagnostic screen, while functional, it's pretty arbitrary. You've got what slot, you've got what channel, and you've got the data, but like when you look at your digital inputs, you got slot and channel, but and whether it's on or off, but you have no idea what that is. It's a guessing game, same with your outputs, as to what it is. You don't know. I mean, this is a high-speed counter, but and it says count, but you really wouldn't know that. You wouldn't know that this is an analog input, I mean, other than looking up here at the picture, which isn't real clear anyway, but I digress. Anyway, so what we'll do is we'll pop over here to the C-More software. So here's what I did. Now this is a pop-up window. It has to sit there, but we'll go into simulate mode here in a minute and I'll show you exactly how this runs. But what I want to talk about is, like I said, some of the more in-depth features of the C-More. What I mean by that is like the event manager. Now I only used it in a couple places on here, but it was able to solve a couple problems and make things happen the way I needed them to. I'll show you the screens first. This is your display screen. Like I said, this is a pop-up screen. It's just there. It's not there when we're in actual running. The set point screen, well, I'm going to have to, my bad. I'm not in simulate right now. The set point screen looks like this, pretty much like the other one did. The alarm screen looks like this, pretty close to what they had, and the same stuff's there, but a little flashier, looks a little better, I think. I did build a trend screen, the calibrate screen. The diagnostic screen's where I really kind of went above and beyond. So granted, I've got 9 different screens for this, but behind each of these there's a hidden button, and I overlaid the text to let you know what each one is. You got a high-speed counter, analog input, analog output, digital input, so on and so forth. Well, for each one of those, I did a different screen, and you can see it's telling you what it is, it's telling you what specific data you're looking at, and so on and so forth. And when you get down into your digital inputs and outputs, I tried to give more data. Basically, it was so arbitrary on that other one. Yeah, you'd know whether that input was on or off, but you didn't know what you was looking at. So if something wasn't made, you was kind of in a guessing game or having to jump to documentation to figure it out. And I think this makes it a whole lot cleaner. And this is that actual pop-up screen that we saw on top of the display screen. So if we go into simulate, it'll pop up, and I've got it up here on another screen. I'll bring it down where I can trigger and change values and whatnot while we're simulating. The big thing I want to show you, and it's nothing that can't be done on other HMIs, it just it's the way to handle these problems in the C-More. So if we look over all the screens, the first thing I'll point out is, so whenever you hit that reset footage, you have that pop-up, and you hit yes for yes, and it resets the footage and goes away. You hit no, and it just goes away. So doing that was actually a little bit of a trick. So this, as you'll see, we'll go back into the program real quick here. Turn that off for a second. Your footage reset button is actually a push button, and it's triggering an internal tag. Let's go with internal, and it's called Are You Sure? Right here. It's an internal discrete tag. So it doesn't go to the PLC. It's just taking it's only in the database inside of the HMI. So what I'm actually doing whenever you push that footage reset button, I'm toggling that Are You Sure bit on in the HMI. Well, by doing that, if you come up here to this pop-up window, you'll see what turns this pop-up window on is that Are You Sure bit. So when you hit this button, your footage reset, it triggers that Are You Sure bit, it toggles it on, and it pops this up. So down here, obviously on exit, all I'm doing is toggling that Are You Sure bit off. Okay, one thing. Simple, because that will make that go away. But on your footage reset, we need to actually reset the footage, right? And that's a momentary, that's not a toggle. But without some additional action, we wouldn't exit from that pop-up. The pop-up would still be there because there's nothing telling it to go away. We're not toggling that Are You Sure bit back off. So what we did there to make that, or I did there to make that happen, we're going to go into the event manager and hit tag event, and we're going to double click here. So when that footage reset push button RSView bit is triggered, it turns that Are You Sure bit off. Simple, I know, but it's a way to make multiple things happen by pushing the one button. Otherwise, you can't do that. If you tried to put a screen change button there or something along that line, it's not going to work, because the screen change push button is just a screen change push button, and you can only hit whatever's on top. You can't hit multiple buttons at the same time. You get what I'm saying. But this here, when this bit goes high, the footage reset bit goes high on, it toggles or turns this Are You Sure bit off, thereby closing that pop-up window. I hope that makes sense. And once again, this one here, simply toggles that "Are you sure" bit, which is what brings that pop-up, off. So it was a way to make sure that you're able to reset the footage and you're able to back out of that screen whether you hit yes or you hit exit. Okay, so we're going to go back into Simulate real quick. And a problem that I didn't even know existed on these HMIs until I wrote this one and we started testing it, me and the operators. When you open a keypad on these HMIs, so let me actually go to the set point screen and do it. When you open a keypad like this, that keypad is now a new window popped up over the top of the set point screen window. So this is a window all its own. And what I didn't know until this project, because I'd never run across it being a problem before, is everything behind that. Now on here there wouldn't really be any live data because this is just set points, so it's not a problem. But if there was live data back here, it all freezes because this becomes the active window. So everything behind, on the screen behind the keypad, freezes right where it's at. Now once you hit escape, it'll instantly catch back up. And on the display screen, the problem they had with that was they needed to be able to see this total footage when they come up here to line speed, because they'll start slowing down once they get up to a certain point because they like to run in manual. So what I did, if I hit this, you're going to notice something a little weird. You're going to see a keypad pop up that I actually built manually. But notice that this display screen came up, but it's kind of popped down and you can kind of see the other one behind it. Well, this whole screen right here is a keypad. It's designed as a keypad. The keypad portion is here, but all of this back here is part of that keypad screen. And I'll show you how I did that. But what that did, now when you pop that keypad up, everything back here stays live. You can still see your diameter coming up. You can see your total footage coming up. Everything that's showing live data that's not blocked by the keypad, obviously, you can still see. You can still see the amperage on your motors down here. And it kind of stumped me for a minute because they said that they had that problem on the old RSView program at one point, and then they had updated the computer or updated something. This was prior to me, and it went away, and it started staying live behind the keypad. So I had to figure out a way to fix that. What I did, if we come back over here to screens, and over here on the right here, that's your define keypad. So all of your keypads are in here. You've got default 0, 1, 2, and so on, and then you've got the classic style, which looks a little more like an Allen Bradley. And then if you get down here at the bottom, you'll notice I built two. This one here was the first one I did, and we have one operator, his eyesight's not the greatest, so he needed this to be a little bigger. And I built this. But literally what I did, and I'll even show you here, we'll leave that keypad for the moment. We'll get rid of this. We'll go back to our, wrong button, sorry. We'll go back to our display screen and we will grab everything. Now it's not going to grab that pop-up because that's a completely separate deal. But we're going to copy that whole screen, every element on it. Now we'll go back over here to our define keypad and we'll come down here to that user define keypad 1 and we'll paste that entire screen just like that. So we just duplicated that screen. Now I'm going to undo that for a second just to show you something. We want to take this, we want to right click, and we want to group everything in it. That way we can blow it up bigger And then the best way to handle it is to go in and change all of your text sizes to something a little bigger. And your number sizes, I'm not going to do all of them right now. I'm just kind of showing you what I did. And I actually usually go in and change the font. I get rid of the default font and I make them bold. Makes them stand out a little better on the screen. You go into your number here. That's going to pop up the rectangle because the rectangle's on top. So what we'll do is we'll pull up our display list just to show you how to do it here. We'll blow out that group and we'll go into key button, double click it, and that's the plus minus key. We'll make that bigger, make it bold, and you just go in and do that with each one. See, you can get to everything right down here in this pop-up. We got the other key buttons down here. Double click it, you'll see which one it is. That's the 5. Make the number bigger. Go in if you want to make it bold, if you want to italicize, if you want to change the font. You can do pretty much whatever you want. There's a lot of power and a lot of functionality in here, but you see the difference. You see how it's going to change once you get all of those done. I don't know why I double click that. Let me find one of those colored keys over there to the side. Oh, sorry. Those are all numbers. And they must be up here. Nope, it's got to be one of them. Let's see, let's go down through here and find. There's one. We'll do the enter key just to show you what it looks like on there. Make it a 14. Make it bold. And you can go in and change your initial preferences on this kind of stuff. I just kind of leave it and change it as I go. But you see where I'm going with that. So we'll drop this back down out of the way. Okay, so before we paste all of our other stuff in here, we'll go ahead and kind of drag this down to the middle. But what I want to do right now is I want to get it kind of where I want it, get it sized how I want it, whatever. And we will go ahead and we will paste. And you'll notice that it's all going to be up on top of there. So before we undo all that, we're going to right click and we're going to send that to the back, which will bring our keypad to the front. And then we can move our keypad where we want it. And that's literally how I built that custom keypad screen so that the data would stay live even when the keypad was popped up. That was just to kind of show you how I built it. And it ended up looking just like this. Wait a minute. Is that the one? Yeah, I actually, I don't have my most recent saved copy on here because I did go in and change all that text after the fact. It's all bigger now, much, much bigger. I thought I had the most recent version saved on here, but apparently I don't. On the actual HMI that's actually in production right now, it is bigger text and it looks really good. Now you'll notice here this percentage is smaller than it is on my actual display screen. That's something else that they wanted changed. They wanted that to be a little bit bigger, and I made that change for them. But the big thing here was working side by side with the operators, sure that everything was the way they wanted it. Had I had the old project file, it would have made life a little bit easier, but even on some of the tags, I had a little bit of trial and error to get, and luckily, if you go look at the tag database, whoever wrote the PLC program did a really good job of linking their RS view tags, because they literally put RS view behind all the tags that they were using in the HMI, which is nice. It made it a whole lot easier for me coming behind way after the fact and reverse engineering this. Now there was some data and some Boolean tags and whatnot that weren't descriptive with RSView because we're just reading like all the I/O that we're reading for the diagnostic screens and whatnot. You're just looking at the actual Boolean tag, the input, the output, etc. But this made it a little bit easier on me to go in here and get everything lined out. Now, another problem that showed itself on this, and I hadn't run into before, and I learned a little something. This disable exponent notation right here under the panel manager. So most of these are 32-bit floating point integers. The tags are. If we go in here to the tags, you'll see a lot of floating point 32-bit integers. And the ones that do have decimals in them, and most of these have been changed in the most recent revision, but if I had a big decimal, less than 1 but more than 0, I would get that notation, and it just looks really weird, and the operators were kind of freaking out because it was showing that exponent notation. So you'd have a series of letters and numbers and a dash or whatever it was. It looked really weird. Granted, it didn't hurt anything, but it didn't look right. They want to see whole numbers. You come in and you turn that, or you flip that disable exponent notation on, and it gets rid of that. Makes it pretty easy to deal with. But they also had me change the screensaver time on the most recent one. They wanted it 30 minutes instead of 20. But the bottom line is, when you're doing something like this, those operators are the ones that spend all the time with that machine. And sure, they're not controls guys, but they know what they need in order to make that machine run. They know what they're used to. And you saw this compared to the old RSView program. I kept it pretty similar because I don't want them to have to relearn everything they've been doing. Some of these guys have been doing this job for 20 years. And it's not about them being resistant to change. It's about keeping their workflow cohesive. They shouldn't have to make major changes. I mean, we didn't install a new machine. All we did is update the HMI. So I hope I've showed you a few of the little tricks, I guess you'd call them, on here. They're very powerful screens. They really are, and they can do a lot. They can do just as much as any other HMI out there. Oh, here was another thing with the event manager. So I had told you earlier that if they try to start the machine and one of their clamps ain't closed or something like that, they need it, they're used to it. The old version would pop straight to the alarm screen so they could see what they're missing. So if we go into simulate, and this will happen no matter what screen you're on. If I come over here, I got to find the right bit first. It is display system status ready bit. So, and I had to find that in the PLC. But if that bit goes high while they're hitting the start button, if they hit the start button and something's not ready, it triggers that bit and it takes them straight to that alarm screen. And then they can see what's missing and why they can't start. Say their carriage clamps ain't closed, or the dust vac is messed up, or e-stop, or whatever it is that's stopping them. It automatically goes there, and all they got to do is glance at the screen, and they can see, oh, wait a minute, I forgot to close that clamp. And then they can go back to their display screen and run. It's pretty straightforward, but you see this footage stop set point here. Well, if we switch to diameter stop mode, wait a minute, diameter stop mode select, you see that changes. So I've got the visibility on this triggered by that tag. So that is only visible when they go into diameter mode. And there's also some red slow and stop text that pops up here. If they're in diameter slow mode, you see this flashes slow mode. And I didn't even know that was there when I first started building these screens. Diameter stop mode, same thing. And I had to find that out by watching them run and seeing it happen. I mean, in the beginning, they typically run in footage mode. So I wasn't even aware in the beginning that this, the diameter mode that looks like this, was there, because on the screen it always shows footage stop because they typically run in footage. Now, when I looked at the version of the program on my laptop that I pulled out of the panel PC, it showed diameter mode, but watching them run is how I found those little red pop-ups and things like that. You've got to, when you don't have the old project file, you've just got to take the time to figure that stuff out. But to show you how I did that right there, on any element that you put on here, you can put a visibility tag. So that is only visible when diameter stop mode is selected, as you see right there. And you can mess with the scaling and whatnot too. You can make the display value show different than the PLC value if you want to scale something different in the HMI than it is in the PLC. And in that event manager, if you really want to get under there and really start breaking stuff down, there is a lot you can do. You got your tag, you can add multiple tags, and you can even do logic right here in the panel. So when certain things happen, when these tags are in whatever condition, whatever logic orientation you want, you can make them trigger another tag. Or in this case it's an alarm, but you can add action here. You can do math, you can do a message, the backlight, you can do a screen capture. So if something happens, it'll do a screen grab and save it to the SD card in the panel. You can do a screen change, trigger a sound, copy a tag. You can really use this event manager to make pretty much anything happen that's not available traditionally inside the objects you're putting on there. The math and things of that nature are, you literally just type a formula in right here, whatever it is, and then you throw the result in whatever tag you want to, whether it's an internal tag or a PLC tag. You can do math and logic and things like that right inside the panel. Now, I don't actually want to do that right now. And then you can also come over here and you can schedule events based on time and date. Day and time, you can make something happen, whatever it is. Any of those actions that we had just talked about, you can make them happen at a specific date and time. Or, I didn't mean to close out of that, sorry. When they do a screen change, you can make something else happen. But the bottom line is there's a lot of ways to do everything you want to do inside these panels. Don't take away from Automation Direct's panels just because they're online and they're, I mean, the 15-inch HMI I put in down there was $1,700. And there is so much functionality in here, so many things you can do. It's just, it's insane. It really is. I'm not saying they're better than any other HMI on the market or anything like that. They all have their, I used one a while back, a Bear HMI that was phenomenal. I mean, the software cost a little bit. It wasn't free like the C-More, but it wasn't like prohibitively expensive. But the bottom line is they're really good panels. You know, one other thing that I just thought about is I did have to password protect one screen on here. Granted, they typically do, they've got a pretty basic password, but in order to get to this screen, you have to put in a password. How did I do that? Well, we will go to that screen, which is the calibrate screen right here. And if we go to screen options, you'll see password. Now I have general on there. You hit configure password, it'll pop up and you can put in whatever you want that password to be for that specific level, be it managers, engineers, supervisors, etc. And you can change those names. And you can also make those a tag, be it internal or in the PLC, so that they can set their own password. You don't have to do this static password. You can make it a tag, and you can create an event where based on a date they have to change their password, or their first login they have to change their password. That is all doable. They're a very capable HMI, and Automation Direct doesn't pay me to do these videos. I've been using their product a lot, and I still use a lot of Allen Bradley stuff as well. But the beauty about this is talking to an Allen Bradley PLC. So whenever you first set one of these up, it's simple to import your Allen Bradley tags, be it an L5K file or an L5X file. You make a new project, you come down here and you select Allen Bradley, and in this case it was a Compact Logix Ethernet right here, and you do your protocol setup, you put in your IP address, and then you just import your tag database as, like I said, an L5K or an L5X file, and you're done. The protocol's there. It's going to talk to the PLC. It's going to do everything it needs to do. It's not complicated. And I showed this once before on another video, but the number of protocols in there are there's quite a few, and it's got Modbus. So if you've got a PLC that's not directly supported by the C-More, you can always use Modbus to talk to whatever you want. I mean, there's a lot of devices out there that speak Modbus. We'll wrap this up. I'm getting a little long-winded, but I just wanted to dig a little deeper into the C-More and show you some of the more advanced, I guess, features that are available. And just to show you that these things will do just as much as just about any other HMI. I think this is where I don't know if I showed you guys this before, but this is where you change the background color of your screen. So right now I've got it set to 48. If I want to change it, I just hit OK, and you see it changes the background color. I'm not sure if I showed you that before or not, but you can change that background color to anything you want. You can put a JPEG back there. I'm sorry, a bitmap back there. You can do bitmap buttons. You can have. I've used the company logo for a former employee as so a welcome screen would pop up, and you touch that logo to take you to your first screen. Just to, I mean, the mind boggles at the options that are available in here. It really does. They're a good panel. They're a very good panel. I guess that's all I've got to say. But anyway, like, comment, subscribe. Definitely, it helps with the algorithm. I'm trying to build this channel a little at a time here, mainly through word of mouth, search, and LinkedIn. I share every time I put a new video out. I put it on LinkedIn that I put a new video out. So if you got any questions, ask them down in the comments. I answer every single comment that comes in. And if you've got any advice for me, I'm always looking to learn. I don't know everything about anything, but I'm trying to get better every day. So everyone have a good rest of your week, and I'll try to get this produced and posted tonight. And yeah, thanks for tuning in.